entrepreneurs and professionals of Tampa Bay. Welcome to your hour for getting the information, the tools, and the connections for elevating your business. Welcome to Getting the Edge with Kelly Wilson. And here's your host, Kelly Wilson.
Welcome to Getting the Edge. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm your host, Kelly Wilson. Extremely happy to be with you and here with you every week, talking to great business owners and leaders in our community and sharing stories. And we are extremely happy to highlight and promote individual businesses in our community. But our goal is to really get to know them personally, and really find out their trials and tribulations and learn from their experiences. I'm a firm believer that we can all learn a lot from each other's journey. So that's really what Getting the Edge is all about. Check out edgebusinessmagazine.com for more details about Edge. We have a new issue coming out in April, so we're really excited about that. We'll have more details about that as well coming soon. So really excited about our show today. Again, full of inspiration, and you just have such an amazing story. Really excited to have Jacqueline Darna of NoMo Nausea with us today. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you
so much for having me.
Oh,
yes, I love getting to see you and talk to you and be on different shows. Honestly, I really appreciate it.
I appreciate that as well. Thank you very much. But it's people like you. And you've had so much success, and congratulations on all of your success. But you are still the same down to earth, sweetest can be person, and you're just so lovely, and it's just
don't
great.
ask my husband. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, well, thank you.
We all have our own opinions, right? No, but no, it's true. I'm just so happy for you, and just really how much the products, and we have a full hour to really talk about everything that you've kind of been through in the last so many years. And I really want to talk about too. We want to talk about how you got started, and I know you've done a lot, and I see you everywhere as well. Right. But we all really want to find out how your life has changed too since all the bands have taken off, and just with all the everything. So tell us a little bit about. Well, obviously, I don't know this. Where do we start? Let's talk about where you even had the idea, and so tell us a little bit about the product.
Absolutely. So NoMo Nausea is the first and only natural way to instantly stop nausea, vomiting, and migraines in just 30 seconds or less. And NoMo Sleepless Nights, our sleep product, actually is coming out very, very soon, which you can find in a whole bunch of over 10,000 plus retail stores. But it's all based around my patent. My patent is essential oil, so if you smell, and acupressure at different acupressure points upon the body that help to elicit physiological responses to help you feel better faster and drug-free.
That's great. Okay, so no more sleepless nights?
Yes, that's a brand new one.
Okay, so it might replace my melatonin?
Actually, it can, because it will naturally increase your body's production of melatonin. What people don't understand is that any time that you feed yourself with hormone production of any kind, right? What do you think your body's going to do? It's going to suppress it to make its own. Just like those of us who are addicted to chapstick, I personally am. What happens? In the long run, your lips are actually more chapped than they were at the very beginning. So you have to balance out between the two. So what we've actually found with medical research is when you apply linalool is actually one of the many characteristics inside of lavender. And lavender is actually a component that will end up traversing through the nose into your brain, the fastest way to put you off to sleep. Now, if you want to be one of those people that sleeps longer, you increase and it's an HT7 point. It'll be in 2,000 CVS stores in August. But it will, you actually apply a different acupressure point, and it's actually right here on the side. And what that ends up doing is it increases your body's endorphins. It increases your body's natural release of that melatonin. So you actually stay asleep longer. So you get to bed about 20 minutes faster and stay asleep about an hour and a half longer. So it is a wonderful 2-in-1. It's the very first of its kind. No other products that are out there where you don't have to ingest anything, you don't have to take a pill, none of that. You literally slap a band on and it works like that. So we're launching it into, like we were talking about, the CVS stores, and Target also may be carrying it by the end of this year as well. So that's exciting.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That is amazing. And wanted to quickly congratulate you as well on your patent no longer pending.
Yes,
you are patented
I am.
now. So congratulations on that as well.
And it's there's many more lines to come. So we are patented for any essential oil infused acupressure device. So NoMo Nausea, which was the first one, and I'll kind of lead in some people that don't know me. So NoMo Nausea was because I puked my guts out. For 3 days straight, I had an emergency C-section, and I am a physician by trade, and imagine your friends, your family, your colleagues, they were all trying to help out, right? They were like, here, take this med. Let me inject you with this in the IV, and nothing was working. They actually
So
asked
this was,
me,
you were having a C-section, and
I had an emergency C-section,
Okay.
and afterwards, because that's a full surgery,
Right.
afterwards I was just vomiting nonstop. And I know
I am
exactly
one of those
why.
that-
That's
that-
a lot of people
Right.
are. And I'm very blessed that 28 hospital systems in the United States actually utilize NoMo Nausea Med Plus line for anesthesia purposes, for labor and delivery, and for chemotherapy oncology.
Well, and it must be
So-
great that they can put a band on someone versus any type of
Exactly.
medicine that then might counteract with any medications that patient is currently taking.
Right, and that's the natural realm. So what was happening is they were giving me everything, even experimental. They actually asked me, they said, we're going to put you into a medically induced coma because you
Oh my
can't stop
goodness.
throwing up. I said no. I was very, I looked at both of my beautiful babies, again, and the whole family, everybody was really scared. And then I remembered one slide in anesthesia school about acupressure, right? So acupressure at the P6 point of the human wrist. And then my stepmom came walking in with a peppermint plant, and she said, here, smell this. I read this on Google. Peppermint's supposed to help settle your stomach. Well, I looked like an Egyptian princess. I had leaves everywhere, but I never had them when I needed them. So like if I were to start to get sick, I needed to smell them. So I asked for a piece of tape and created a band, taping the peppermint, the essential oil, the actual leaves themselves with a band. And then I said, well, how do I make it attractive? Because there were the 1980 sweatbands that came before me.
Right.
But how do I make it so attractive to where women who are on a cruise want to wear it with their heels? Or guys that want to work out, want to lift harder, run faster? How do I let them be in the gym without telling all their buddies, hey, I get sick every time I work out? And this little smell, that was the key. So just smell alone can stop 80% of people from vomiting in 30 seconds alone. So it's a really interesting, unique concept. And then my other lines, when it came to NoMo Migraine, which is the headache and migraine, that came out of all of our clinical trials. So we started going, clinical trials, and we went into different hospitals. And they were trying to make sure that in our clinical trials that this product, that migraines wasn't a reason why they were getting nausea and vomiting after surgery. So it was actually an outlier. Guess what we found? It was actually helping to reduce the headache or migraine and increase the length of time until they were having the next one. So that's the reason why we ended up rebranding, adding a second essential oil, not just peppermint, into our NoMo Migraine. And that's kind of what happened. That was the story of like the start of it. Now, I worked my 7 to 5 and my 5 to 7. So again, I was still working at the hospital full time, and then I would be a full-time CEO. The difference was I wasn't ready to jump, and it wasn't until I had one of my incredible interns, and she looked at me and she said, Jackie, you're incredible with your patients. You help 1-to-1, but you can help 1 to 1,000,000 people. You need to leave your day job. And that was like shocking to me.
Right.
I was always a big believer of, if you're not making money, it's a hobby and not a business.
Well,
so,
I think many of us are taught that.
Absolutely.
Right, growing up.
Well, but it's true though. So
Right.
I had a set point. I had a financial set point that when I was making 3 times what I made at the hospital, I would stop. Now that's not necessarily what I was making, but what the company was making and grossing,
right.
because
Right.
I made a pretty penny. I had a great paycheck, I must say.
I can imagine as a anesthesiologist.
Correct.
Right.
Practicing anesthesia. I mean,
Right.
It's
I can
lucrative.
imagine. Right. I can imagine.
And I
right.
went to school for
that,
12
that would be
years.
really tough to leave.
It's very hard.
Absolutely.
Right. It's hard. It's hard to. It's hard to know, if you know exactly where that money is
Right.
coming from versus making payroll and things like that. And I actually was talking at Innisbrook recently, and it was very interesting for the Vlaspar's Golf Championship, and we were talking about that. I said, it's one thing to be an executive of a major corporation where you know that they're going to handle everything. It's a completely different situation when you jump off a cliff, you start your own company, you breed and thrive off of this.
Right.
And I'm bootstrapped. I am truly 100% self-owned. I still own 100% of the company. Thank you.
And you and I have talked about that over the years. It's one thing to really have ideas and be creative and have this great idea, but it's totally another to have the business sense inside of things.
Correct.
And to know what to do and what not to do. And it is a lot.
Right.
And you even in school, well, and you didn't take the business route.
Right. No business or marketing class. I have
right.
to always throw that out there. Take a business and marketing class.
No, and too, if I could go back and do it again, I would do the same thing.
Absolutely.
Because you just don't know. And what you're going to school for today may not be what you end up going to school. I mean, and I didn't, and anyway, but lesson learned, and hopefully we can share that. And
I always say, like, you end up, when you own your own business, it's kind of like an in the trenches MBA where you're getting like the real world experience. And let me tell you, you get really cautious with it when it's your own money. I have friends of mine who have done phenomenal at raising capital. And I have one story in particular who raised a little over like 1.2, and I made that in the same amount of time. So it was really interesting to see that you can, by reinvesting, and my products are only $12.99, by reinvesting $12.98, how you can really, and notice I said that 1 penny, right? That 1 penny is supposed to be that buffer because you earned it. And I always say not just to celebrate your successes, but monetarily celebrate it too. So I always looked at it as, yes, I am going to reinvest 99%, but that 1%, I'm going to high five myself. And that's my way of showing, you put a penny down for good luck, right? Put a penny down for yourself. And it's interesting how they add up, and then the more bulk that you sell, the more that you end up pushing, the more that you end up driving. It's not even driving. At that time, it's thriving. Right. And so once you see what you're doing well, you do more of it. And then you recognize ways of reducing those costs in order to better yourself and your company in a long run.
Wow. No, and congratulations even on owning and still retaining 100%. I mean, that is the optimal way to do it. Many, I think, don't really feel like they can, but I think if they think it out kind of the way you have done it, you can do that. It's just, no, congratulations. I think that's great. So how many years then has it been since that you were having the C-sections and put the peppermint? Right.
So my daughter is 5 years old. She turned 6 in August. And so July 7th is what I attribute to my very first day, I guess you could say, a little over 4.5 years ago now. So it
Time goes so fast.
Time goes so fast. And it was, what a big difference and change. And, I've honestly learned to leverage your community. Business is the business of people. It's not products or services. And people, especially in this area, and I have to say, just to highlight, in Tampa alone, they thrive to help other businesswomen out.
They do. Well, we're going to talk more about that, all about community and relationships. Don't go away. We'll be right back with Getting the Edge.
This is the Cannabis Podcast, powered by TrueLeaf on Radio Influence. It's an inside look and the scientific facts in and around the world of medical cannabis. Now, here is your host, Ian Beckles.
He's a successful entrepreneur, published author, top listing agent, a real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes.
Welcome back to Getting the Edge. I'm your host, Kelly Wilson. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are filming in the Genghis Khan Mediterranean restaurant at 3114 West Bay to Bay. If you're in the South Tampa area and looking for Mediterranean cuisine, stop by and let them know that Edge Business Magazine sent you and say hello. Happy to be here again. You are just such an inspiration. And enjoy Jackie Darna of NoMo Nausea. Where did the name come from?
Okay, so the name actually has a really funny connotation. We were driving back from Orlando, of all places. The kids are, have fallen asleep at Disney, and on the radio, the song. There's a very common Little John song. Yeah. What? Okay, so I wanted to be all clinical, and I said anesthesia aid and anesthesia band and AA band, all kinds of very clinical things. My husband looks over at me and the song is playing in the background. He goes, NoMo Nausea band. And I look at him and I go, what? And he goes, NoMo Nausea band. And I go, okay. So that was the start of NoMo Nausea. Now I have to say, when we first went out, it was no space Mo nausea. But NoMo had all right, I'm going to say it, a gangster hood rat connotation.
Yeah.
And my medical professionals didn't like it, so they were like, what about NoMo? And so we put it together because No More Nausea was actually taken online, so NoMo was not. And so now we were able to buy all the NoMos and trademark it. So it's catchy.
Yeah.
But now it's, NoMo Nausea, NoMo Migraine, NoMo Sleepless Nights, NoMo Hot Flashes to come, NoMo Stress, and, it goes on and on.
I love it. And, it's one of those serendipitous kind of moments where even in the car and the song comes on and all of a sudden you have the name, it goes back even into being in the hospital room and the peppermint and then the acupuncture and just kind of all those things that you already know kind of coming into play at the same time.
Exactly.
Which kind of gives you that serendipitous moment. And I love having, and sharing that with everyone, because be aware, and I always tell everyone, be aware of what's going on around you and everything that's happening, because all these signals and different things and, they play into our lives for a reason. And if we're aware of them, you can,
And I'm Catholic, and I know that God put this into my path so that I can help many people. And I actually gave this example. I won an award through WeBank, which is a women business council. I'm their entrepreneur of the year for PepsiCo, and PepsiCo ended up sponsoring me. Well, little did I know that one of the samples that I had given to one of the head executives of the women business council, she actually told me that her grandmother had utilized the product, and before she passed, she said, I want you to thank that nice young lady. I was finally able to eat again after suffering with stage 4 cancer. She ended up passing 2 weeks later, but her granddaughter said it was incredible. I get chills every time I talk about it, but it was just a testament. The little things, the quality of life that we take for granted, the ability to be able to eat comfortably, to be able to enjoy the palate or the taste of food without having upset stomach, and those who are suffering cannot.
Right.
And so this was a way that, and she even said, I was able to literally take the oatmeal, eat it, and anytime I started feeling sick, I would smell. And it's little things like that, and I know that this is God's path for me, and everybody thought I was crazy.
Isn't that's a part of being an entrepreneur,
Absolutely.
right?
Jump
people,
off the cliff. Woo,
people telling you that you're crazy, and I think that's a lot of what this show is about too. Is getting through that and knowing that you're going to be told you're crazy and expect it, but you get through it and you keep going. Right. And but that's a whole part of the path.
Absolutely, and it makes for a great story.
Absolutely.
Because there are people that, when I was speaking earlier, that literally came up and goes, I remember when you were peddling bands out of a plastic Ziploc bag in your backpack. I'm like, you know what? That was me. And I have no shame, because I honestly believe, pitch to them if they got a pulse.
I remember you saying that years ago.
Yes, because you never know who they know, or you never know who they know that they know.
Right.
So it's more of this effect of, what is it, 6 separations of the world or whatever it's called, where within 6 people,
Everybody
you know
knows
everybody,
somebody. Right.
But it's just
Something
so
like that.
interesting. And if you give them that story, if they feed off of that experience and that they love your product and whatever it is, they will do anything and everything that they can. And I feel like that's why I was so successful, because people really rallied behind me.
And it's interesting because years ago you said that, and again we've crossed paths many times over the years. It's been great to watch your success and just the growth. And it's I love seeing an idea, like being an idea, and really at the beginning, and then seeing the fruition of how it all comes together. But interesting, you said that years ago to me, as far as pitch, if they have a pulse. And I even moderated an event we did with one of the Rotary clubs, I think. And somebody had asked that, and you said, if they have a pitch, if they have a pulse, pitch them.
to them.
But when you first said that, I thought you meant pitch as far as getting money, from an investment standpoint. But now I realize you didn't. You were just pitching them about the product and trying to spread the word about the product. So that's maybe one differentiator that, I didn't know that. So it doesn't matter if you're seeking an investment or not. Anytime, if they have a pulse, talk to them about your product.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
And don't be afraid. Like, we all go to these events and conferences and things like that. And most people, they stand up and they say whatever it is, question or response that they want, but they never formally introduce themselves. I actually always start, "Hi, my name is Dr. Jacqueline Darna. I'm the CEO of NoMo Nausea." And then I continue on. And people are like, you said that like a pro, right? And it gets people's attention. Secondarily, they always want to come up and ask you different things. And so I always make it apparent to make everyone else know that I'm in the room. And it's important. And I literally have a bunch of different dress lines that have crystals and bling and all this other stuff, but that's me, and that's my brand. And that's another thing. You are your brand.
Right.
I used to say for the first 2 years. I've changed that to the first 5 years, because now I'm in my 5th year, and I still am the brand. I'm the no nausea lady. Like, I walk around and nobody else has that type of title. But I hope it'll be like the night sleep lady or whatever it is after my NoMo Sleepless Nights comes out.
Yeah, I think that's great. And really, it's, and going back to that briefly, but just so I think a lot of us, our minds don't stop. We are in this, it's really hard. We don't work normal hours, so we're always on.
Always.
So it's really hard. I was in a pharmacy, and somebody said, "Well, just try some melatonin or something. Don't take a sleep aid if you don't have to."
Well, because if not, you're going to be groggy the next day.
Right.
And that was one of the capture lines for marketing. Good night, great morning. Right. So there's a twofold to that. With every medication that you're going to end up taking, there's going to be a consequence.
Right.
And so I always feel as though, especially when it comes to, anti-nausea medication, this is something that most people don't know. It actually doesn't help to treat motion sickness. So instead, what does it do? It's a sedative. It makes you sleepy so that you don't puke. Because if you're sleeping, you're not puking. But people don't understand that, because your vomit receptor or puke receptor lies outside of the blood-brain barrier. And all the rest of the actual medications you take transverse through it, makes you sleepy, and then you have now lost your entire cruise, or your eyes are so blurry that you just kind of fall over. And those are different side effects that people really get on an everyday basis. And that's the reason why a natural product is perfect as first-line defense. But you're right, people can't shut their brains off, especially entrepreneurs. I go a million miles a moment. Million miles a minute.
Right.
I'm going to change that to a moment, because it's not even a minute. It's true. Every single second.
Right.
And women in particular. Did you know 70% of women don't sleep well every night?
I did not.
That's a huge number. And that was probably the reason why my retailer said, this could be bigger than your first product line and your second. And I genuinely, truly believe that, because it's something different that they've never seen before.
I love it. I look forward to seeing all the new products roll out. Okay, well, let's just talk about that, though. Okay, so you have an idea. Now you're going to do this, and you've had these moments, these serendipitous moments that have brought it all together. Then what? What's the first step? Do you call somebody? Like, I have this great idea. Like, what do you do?
Well, I like to do what's called nice LinkedIn stalking. I joke about that because it's harmless, right? But LinkedIn or any other type of socialized platform. So if you have a very niche market, you need to be where all the people that you want to talk to are.
Right.
So I make it a point that I was very visible to my chamber. I went to the Small Business Development Council. I went to the Small Business Administration. And then I started either pitching, right, to pitching like as large events, not for money necessarily, but trying to win the affection of all of my potential customers. What that ended up leading me to is recognizing that women-owned businesses, I'm also a Hispanic, I'm a minority owned company, so there are many other avenues too. So there's programs called WeBank and Woes Bank if you're trying to do women-owned inside of government contracting. And if you don't know this, that the government actually has a certain quota that they're supposed to be buying from small businesses, diversified businesses, women-owned business like that. So I was able to leverage the fact, like, why was I fishing in an ocean for a goldfish?
Right.
Instead, I can go into the pond and I can catch the biggest sucker there because I'm it, right? So that was something that I recognized very quickly, that I need to get to people. And so all of the people that I happen to nicely LinkedIn stalk, I know where they're going to
Nicely
be,
stalk, right.
I know where they're going to be speaking at. Well, I just happen to not only friend them, speak to them beforehand, I show up at the event that I know that they're going to speak to, and then it's almost like, Jackie, you're my friend. Like, it's now doing business with someone that you know, and you get to know them personally. I tell all of my sales reps, I want to know, how many kids do they have? Are they married? Blah, blah, blah. And they're like, you didn't ask anything about the company. I'm like, I don't care about the company. They're a person.
Right.
I need to know, do their kids get car sick?
Right.
I need to know, is their wife pregnant or has she ever been pregnant? These are the questions that I feel as though that are most impactful, because when you go into a meeting and if you're like, buy this, buy this, buy this, buy this, no one's going to.
It goes back to the relationship
Exactly.
piece of it that you mentioned.
Yeah, but I call it salesy. And that being said, you need to be where they are at, because if not, you'll never sell anything.
Right. And I love that. I mean, I think that's why you are so amazing, because you do care. You
do,
you genuinely
absolutely.
care. You definitely, it's not about just the transaction, it's about the relationships that you
Yes.
build. And then I think, and that's something I want to talk about too as we kind of progress through the conversation, is as you continue to grow bigger, how do you still keep that one-on-one and that personability kind of aspect with it? Because it's hard, especially when you are so passionate about it and you do care so much. As we continue to grow,
Right.
that's tough, to still have those same touch points.
I don't, and I never say that it's just me. It is we. We are a
Right,
team, from anywhere from my interns all the way through. They know that, it was welcome to the NoMo family, even my vice presidents, even my chief officers and stuff. And so having that same family line and having that same passion driven, they are an extension, a branch of me, and I am just like the soil that starts it.
Love it. That's so great. All right, well, we're going to talk more with Jackie. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with Getting the Edge.
This is the Cannabis Podcast, powered by TrueLeaf on Radio Influence. It's an inside look and the scientific facts in and around the world of medical cannabis. Now, here is your host, Ian Beckles.
He's a successful entrepreneur, published author, top listing agent, a real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes.
Welcome back to Getting the Edge. I'm your host, Kelly Wilson. Thanks again for being with us today. So excited to be joined by Jackie Darna. What an amazing story with her NoMo Nausea bands and NoMo Sleepless Nights and
NoMo Migraine.
Wow. And it's just so interesting, started with the nausea and it really has just developed, and what an amazing product and what an amazing individual. I've heard your story. We've talked, and I've had the opportunity of interviewing you over the years and being a part of interviews that you've done, and it's just I learn more from you every time that we sit down together. So,
and I love hanging out with her too.
Thank you.
Honestly, there's never a dull moment. There's never like a silence. It's like we just pick up where we left off as friends. You go from one to another, and I really feel like I haven't even. Like it's been like maybe a week.
Yeah,
and it's really been like a year and a half.
It probably has been.
I know.
It probably has been. No, but I appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
But it's great. I learned so much from you, and I appreciate the opportunity, and I love to be able to share that. And that's really what Getting the Edge is all about, and our magazines and all the platforms that we provide is really just sharing the stories. Again, I'm such a firm believer that we can learn from each other's journey, and I'm just happy to provide the platforms that we can share and grow. Okay, so we talked a little bit about where the idea came from. We've talked about we talked about the community aspect, and there are a lot of advantages for women-owned business. So where would you suggest people look into that? You mentioned WeBank. Is that kind of a great source?
Yes. So they are the largest certification for women-owned businesses, and I don't just mean women-owned. There's also the NCGL. LCC. It's for the Gay and Lesbian Society. Again, you may have to Google that. So I might have had the acronyms. There's just so many acronyms.
Right.
Woes Bank is another one. It's for women inside of the government purchasing. And then I know that I won as a finalist for the United States Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, the US HCC. That's another one for Hispanic members. There's also minority. I know that I'm forgetting one in South Florida.
It's just amazing. Let's talk a little bit to go back to the PepsiCo.
Yes, So how did you get into it? Did you just sign up for all of these opportunities, or? So do you remember how you were asking, like, how do I still stay connected, especially when having other, I have sales reps, I have brokers, I have all these other things. So how do I stay connected? Well, they still get me because I went from first this pitching aspect to then I was like, you know what? We deserve this award. And so, we're gonna fill it out. We're gonna do the paperwork or a video, like for example, from WeBank. WeBank is a huge women-owned business certification. There was 100,000 people who ended up putting their application in, and it was a 3-minute video clip. So what does it do? It took me 3 minutes.
Right.
I don't believe in taking second takes. Let's go all out, right? So they need to know who I am for real, and I won.
So no editing, let's just be original.
Right. I won, and then there was us top 3 finalists.
Well, how did you even find out about the opportunities? Are you researching often to know, or did someone tell you?
So we do, and again, there is like it's called Her Opportunity, HER. There's other ones that are like local in the area, like for example, for Tampa Bay, like the Tampa Bay business owners. There's weekly emails that they'll let you know different things. I know about being a part of the organization, and you guys were talking like $200. We're really not talking a very large sum of money for certification, and they will let you know when is it that the airport is buying, when is it that NASA, like I can't wait to work with NASA. So when are all of these platforms, and where is their diversity team?
Right.
So you go and you start to meet them, and it's called supplier diversity. Google it. It's incredible. I know that Raul was a big person for me in supplier diversity at CVS, and not just he now has moved on to a different entity, but he was one of my biggest pushing factors. They are made for us so that these big entities, the Walmarts, the Kmarts, the Targets, all of these big entities in the world, that they see us too, because to them, we are gold. They have standards that they have to meet.
Right.
And supplier diversity is $1 billion industry now, because we still want to keep America great. And how do we do that? Let's really move forward our business. The business, the small businesses, that's what makes up this country.
Right, absolutely.
It's capitalism.
Right, absolutely.
So it was just really, it's interesting that they will actually send me an email. And I'm like, oh, I guess I got to register for that. Never do I think that I'm going to win any of these things. And I'm always stunned when I do, because I'm like, wow, that's really cool. And then
you won a lot of them. Congratulations.
I've done a few of them. Yeah,
well, you are a
for sure.
great speaker too.
Thank
and
you.
again, it goes back to your passion too. I think you're so passionate about what you're doing and the lives that you're affecting. From that it just comes across. So, and it's natural, it's genuine.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
And I can definitely see that. Why they're recognizing you and honoring you with these great achievements.
Thank you.
So,
I do have to say though, I do want to give a shout out as PepsiCo's, the pitch competition winner, again, amongst a million different people, I feel like. I actually get mentoring from their executives, and PepsiCo is Pepsi and Frito-Lay and Bubbly and all of these other entities, and to have their executive boards come in, take a look at my different products, take a look at my strategies, take a look at financial statements. We sign an NDA and it's a very big process, so whoever ends up getting it for this next year, I am so jealous and the thing is though, I became really good friends. Who can say that they're best friends with the CFO of Pepsi? I can. Christy and I are really close, and I can talk to her just like I can text her, and it's really incredible what bonds you form, and these people are still rooting for you, even though after this next year I'm no longer flying to go visit with them, but I can still say, hey, can you do me a favor, can you call up the head of Tropicana, because I would really like to go down to Bradenton and just kind of have a powwow real quick. I have a problem.
They do that because of you, Jackie. They wouldn't do that with everyone. And it's because
very sweet.
Absolutely, I truly believe that. It's not because it's because of who you are and who you're trying to help. They want to help be a part of that. Be
a part of the journey.
Absolutely.
Yes.
If you weren't impacting lives and as passionate as you are and as good of a person as you are, genuinely, they wouldn't be. You wouldn't have their text messages. They would have given you the award, and that would have been it. But when you truly care, and it's not. You've made it very clear, and it comes across. It's not about the transaction.
Right.
It's about the relationships
100%.
and the impact that you're having. Getting the goosebumps earlier when you're talking about the story of how you helped that woman in some of her final days. And I can only imagine that these stories have just begun. This is an amazing product. You are an amazing person, and it just, this is your destiny.
Yeah.
And it's, so again, congratulations. But these people are there and rooting for you because you deserve it. And I'm proud and I'm honored to help share your story and get your message out there. Yeah. So in that, I think, take a step back and realize that it's never really just, look at the bigger picture and where you're going to go. And it's never just, don't try, even if you think transactional, step back away from that and look at the bigger picture of things and just the connections that you can make and really build.
Yeah. And think outside of just this picture, because I hate that we a picture is what in a square type of format. Think outside of the box, and I always tell people that. So you're not just an entrepreneur, or you shouldn't be, right? You should be disruptive. So I know that my product line would not do as well as it did unless I came up with this medical marketing strategy where I told my docs, I don't want you to buy it. I just want you to recommend it. And so we have literally a mailing program that goes and it's just an offer, a suggestion to these women that are, in pregnancy. It's a suggestion to the daycares. And this is the way that they contact the people people get pregnant every month, right? And who do you go to see?
Days.
Right,
yeah.
Every day.
But I can only imagine.
Yeah, it's about 200 women that we get per office, and we have thousands and thousands of doctors now that are like, this is great. Where was this when I was pregnant before? So it's just really, it's an interesting concept that, as long as you think outside of the box continuously, like in business, you'll never be stuck here. Right. You will always be able to be everywhere. And I feel like as long as, and I call it my hashtag NoMo Mama Squad, but those are really the people that are really driving the product. It's people like you. It's people that, we're like, wow, that's really interesting. I wonder where she's going to go with this. I want to be at least a part of her journey, or at least kind of like a push in the right direction, because it truly is. It was the people that bought it, that loved the product, that told their sisters, that told their kids and everybody else to buy it.
Even beyond just the healers, all of us. If we feel like we can help someone else, or we can refer a great product or a great person or a great story, we want to do it, and that it's like a domino effect of people want to be involved. Quickly, if you had none, we've given, I think, some great advice, but if you had one tip for our viewers in regards to getting in, if you have a great product, and getting that product into CVS. So you are currently sold in CVS,
Bed Bath & Beyond,
Bed Bath & Beyond,
Bye Bye Baby,
Bye Bye Baby,
Kroger.com, Walmart.com, Amazon, Shop and Stop. I know I'm forgetting some.
So where does it start? Like, how do you, so then you've got the product, you're building the relationships, now it's time to get in someone that, like a big store.
What do you do? So you make sure that you have product, a pitch deck. A pitch deck is something that you're going to go to them with and give them the wow factor. Always make sure that they know that, number one, you can handle the actual orders themselves. So you have to know that you're big enough. So we went medical first. So we're found in hospitals in 12 countries of the world. 28 hospital systems use our product line here in the United States, which is incredible. From that's a nice solid basis. They know that I'm not just a fly-by-night company. They know that I can handle large orders. Make sure that you have your supply chain done, fulfillment included, that you have a really good rate with whoever it is that's actually shipping your products out. If you're doing it yourself, bless you. But you're going to end up growing past that point, I think is the point that I'm trying to make. Have a pitch deck. Make sure that you know it inside and out. And I always tell people, pitch not to your first person, so I desperately wanted CVS, but I went to Bed Bath & Beyond first because I wanted to try it out, see what type of errors I had, and then once I had it all ironed out, then I went to the big guns and said, I'm ready for you. Same thing that happened. We went on Walmart.com, we sold out in the first couple days, and all of a sudden, guess who came knocking? It was them coming to ask me for the product, not me pleading them.
You know how many times I've heard the story that it's not so much, and you learn more from what didn't work than what the meetings that you walk out that did.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah.
And make sure that the errors and the mistakes, they are like little speed humps. And I'm going to give a perfect example. This is actually our old packaging, our new packaging. When it comes to product retail and like something in retail, do you know that it's based price-wise on how wide it is, not necessarily how tall it is? So, for example, our new packaging is actually 2 will fit in what used to be just this one, because again, this is money, right? Shelf space is money, and everything is negotiable. That's what something I feel like they're like, oh, but there's CVS. You're like, you're not getting my product unless you do at least 2,000 stores. And I was firm when it came to the sleep product, and he said, okay.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit more about that. It's great advice. And trial and error. How would you know unless you have to experience it? Okay, don't go away. We'll more with Jackie Darna.
This is the Cannabis Podcast, powered by TrueLeave on Radio Influence. It's an inside look and the scientific facts in and around the world of medical cannabis. Now, here is your host, Ian Beckles.
He's a successful entrepreneur, published author, top listing agent, a real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes.
to Getting the Edge. I'm your host, Kelly Wilson. Thank you so much for being with us today. If you have not checked out edgebusinessmagazine.com, make sure you do check out our previous issues of Edge Business Magazine, and you can subscribe today and never miss a future copy. We have a new issue coming out in April, so look forward to that, and more information on that coming soon. Again, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for joining us every week on as we talk to and build relationships with great business owners and leaders in our community. And Jackie, we've talked, I've known you for years, and every time I've talked with you, I just feel like I get to know you a little bit more, and I'm just, again, happy to be a part of sharing your journey. If you've missed any part of our interview, please, I always joke, hit rewind. I don't even know if we can do that anymore. Hit rewind, go back, make sure you see the whole interview, because you definitely don't want to miss. And there's a lot of great tips on just having an idea and where you take it from there. So again, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. So we talked a little bit about what you've learned along the journey, and nobody has all the answers starting out. So it's really a matter of trial and error, learning from the experiences, and then shifting it, and then making things better. Right. And you were just talking about how real estate in the CVS stores and how tell us, to recap on that a little bit about the size.
Right. So what people don't understand is that it's actually the width. So depending upon, you are, I guess, monitored on an annual basis based upon how much space that you take up, but then also monetarily, like money-wise, how much this product should be doing. Where we ended up learning, so if we were to take this in half, for example, our new product packaging that stands up is actually, you can fit 2 of our products in the same amount, because of the fact that we want to make sure that we are able to fulfill that cap and actually go above and beyond, so that they'll end up taking more, because we don't want them to just have a small band. We want them to have the small, the large. We want them to have NoMo Migraine, large and small, NoMo Sleepless Nights, large and small. And so all of those entities, you end up forming your own billboard when you have products that are like lengthwise across, as long as you can fulfill the amount of money that they expect you to be able to produce. And I will tell you too, everybody used to think, the old school, oh, we'll just hang it on a clip strip, or we'll hang it on a peg. Those peggable items are multi-million-dollar items inside of these high-priced areas, because they hang exactly where we get to see. So I know that you sometimes have to talk to your buyer and say, hey, take me off the bottom, throw me in the middle, help us out here. And so that's when the buyer then becomes your advocate. And I know my buyers by name. We see each other all the time at different shows and different things like that. And I'm on a huggable basis, I guess you could say, but I'm also a super Latin woman.
Well, so it goes back to you being you.
Right. And you have to be genuine. That's very important.
Yeah, and that is why, and people want to help those that are genuine and so caring. So anyway, that's exciting. We're going back to, I was just going to ask you something about the product, and you'd mentioned, okay, so now they're like, you said 2, like as far as what used to be the size of 1.
Right. So yeah, the stand-up packages are 2 because of the fact that you want,
real estate is
right,
money.
Absolutely.
That's so interesting. And I think too, that's what I was going to say. Some people want like everything right at once, and I really think it's baby steps, right? And it's really having a vision and then just taking steps and going.
And it's marketing too.
Right.
I feel like I'm underplaying the importance of marketing, because they need to see a strong marketing background for it, as long as you have that draw. So right now, we're in the age of e-commerce, where, for example, Amazon. I mean, Amazon's great for us. I feel like a lot of retailers like poo-poo on it, but I love my Amazon. I mean, I don't do anything, and I make hundreds of sales a day. So it's great. I mean, again, marketing, going back to keyword researching, and make sure that, your marketing, when it comes to these keywords, they type it in, boom, my product should be on the first page. If not, I have to go talk to my employees. Right. But it's really important for me to be able to share that with everyone. But this is a product that they need now, not later. Like you were saying, your daughter gets sick on a cruise. What are you going to do? You're going to run out to CVS. You're going to go buy the product before she heads on the cruise. Right. And you need it now. And so that was the same thing with the medical mailer, that I ended up creating, where I'm sending these information cards to these doctors' offices, not saying, hey, go buy it. Instead, go to your nearest retailer. So they take that card in to their nearest retailer that we tell them to go to, and boom, that's the sale purchase. And while they're there, they can buy other things with it. That's the beautiful part of NoMo Migraine, for example. While you're waiting 45 minutes for a lot of your Tylenol or NSAIDs, like Advil or ibuprofen, to work, get relief in seconds versus minutes, right?
Right.
But we're still in this type of Western society where everybody thinks that, oh, if I take a pill, I'll be happy. So I feel like there is a balance between the two of them. And from a retail standpoint, as a product, hey, it's an upcharge for them as the retailer. So you're just bringing the customers to them looking for your specific product.
Wow. No, that's great. Now, and I look forward to seeing more of your product line and how, and it's interesting too to see how that's evolved, and whether
Right.
it's the packaging, the design, and I'm sure it will shift a little bit more
it changes.
as you go.
It changed. My very first one, I had hired a graphic designer who we used to work for PacSun. So my first product line looked like I was selling marijuana in a bag. Kid you not. I went to a medical show and they were like, what is this? And I was like, ooh, maybe I should tone it down with all of the granola crunching imagery. So instead, I came up with something that was much more medical because my goal is to be like the Band-Aid of the world, right? I want you to say, man, I have an upset stomach. I need a NoMo Nausea band. Or, oh, I have a headache. I need NoMo Migraine. Or same thing when it comes to sleep. I can't sleep. And someone else from the corner yells, get NoMo Sleepless Nights. That's my goal, is to create that brand awareness to where everybody who hears NoMo, because it's interesting to hear, that they resonate that with me.
And what a great story that is. And so we don't have too much time left, but I really want to kind of capture some and get some great tips and kind of different things that you've learned. Well, tell me quickly, how has your life changed? I mean, how is Jackie Darna's life different than it was 5 years ago?
What a big difference. Again, I am not working in the hospital 60 plus hours a week. Instead, I work even more.
Right.
I am traveling all the time. It is
You're
a
all over
constant.
the world.
I'm all over the world. It is a constant. And I've actually found a beautiful entity inside of speaking, actually, because I'm comfortable. I'm also, I have my own pregnancy picology podcast. I've learned that through different outlets, you can get to an international audience. I end up speaking at medical conferences, at business areas, at women's, events, at other bigger industries. And I feel like that's a perfect way to get across to my target demographic, where I call it my 1 to 300 rule. So if I'm going to Mexico, for example, I speak Spanish fluently, so why not do the Univision version of, everything else? And so in speaking, it really allows me to meet with my customers, and not just my customers, but it's usually I'm speaking to other people who are going to make the larger decisions to buy my product in bulk.
Well, and you speak so effectively, and again, your passion comes across in your words. And I think you do care, so you want to give back to and be impactful with those that are listening. Mm-hmm. And you want to share your product, and you want to build the awareness, but again, you genuinely care and you want to impact people's lives. But there's something to be said too.
Like at 6 o'clock this morning, I had somebody who had seen me speak and gave me their card and vice versa, and said, "I would really love just 30 minutes of your time. I have a product idea." I am never too good. I literally woke this poor girl up at 6 o'clock in the morning because that's the only time I had while I was driving 2 hours to get here. I told him, I said, "All right, pitch it to me. Go." And she said that 30 minutes, she had more information because, again, as a mentor for others now, I'm able to help them. I never want somebody to reinvent the wheel. That's not the idea. The idea is to learn. We can all grow together. You don't have to step on anybody. You literally reach your hand down to grab them and pull them up. And you hear this same conversation, bring more women to the table, right? I'm very accustomed to speaking on panels where I am the only female. I'm usually, and it's great. I get more camera time, I get more air time, and I have much more to say. Why? Because I can say that I've been there. But instead of being on a panel with just one woman, I usually say, hey, I know someone that would be great for this panel. Can we bring her on board as well? So just in unification, not just as a woman-owned business, but genuinely as a proud entrepreneur, we just got to help each other out.
Absolutely, which is why I do what I do. Mm-hmm. But there are so many people in our world that don't have that same mentality.
It drives me crazy.
That's okay. I feel like through our impact and our waves that we create, it doesn't matter. I mean, we can do that, and we can hopefully we'll have more doing it in the future as well. And that's really even years ago when I launched Edge, I kind of someone joked with me and said, Kelly, honey, you just want everybody in a circle singing Kumbaya, and it's not going to happen. But it has happened, and those that I'm around, I'm able to have an impact in and bring them together. And all work together and help and promote and highlight. So anyway.
And that's something to be said too about the community that you are kind of bringing together that are singing Kumbaya. Let me tell you, we get to where we want to be faster in a shorter period of time because, and I always call it a catalyst, right? A catalyst is something that gets you from your start, your reactants, to your final, your product faster with less work. Why not?
Right. Well, and it goes back to one of our beginning topics that we talked about when the show first started, that as an entrepreneur, you're going to be told no, that you're crazy, and that your idea will never work. Right. That's just a part of being an entrepreneur.
But my favorite entrepreneur to follow is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. You know why? Because he says, when a door slams in your face, you kick that beep down and reintroduce yourself. Right. And I always tell people, you don't have to go through the front door. You can sometimes find a cracked window. You can find a backdoor entrance. You could put your toe in it. I mean, you really have to get kind of creative at some points in time. And that's truly what it's about. Why are people knocking on the front door? And if they keep hearing no, just squeal around the side, because you never know. You never know if there's a bouncer on the side that you can get in. Hey.
It's true. And I think too, you have to ask.
Absolutely.
So many people will ask me, how did you do this? Or how did you do that? Or how did you get so-and-so? Or whatever it may be. I asked. And they're like, oh, it was that simple. And it really is sometimes. Ask. All they can do is say no.
And then you're in the same position that you were in before, right? Before you started. Who cares if you hear no?
Right.
I've heard no my whole life. And it doesn't even faze me anymore. I actually.
It inspires. I mean, it becomes, it doesn't faze me at all. Right. I mean, we used to have
for my cold call sales teams, we actually would have whoever would get the most amount of no's wins. And that just means that you were putting out that much more, right? You were continuously. I always do say work smarter, not harder. I mean, we want yeses, but at the same time, you got to kind of callous yourself, because no is not a no. It just means not now.
Not yet. Yeah.
Right? So it means later.
Well, so what's the website?
NoMoNausea.com.
NoMoNausea.com. Jackie, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much.
What an amazing story. So check out NoMoNausea.com for additional details or to purchase the product, and it also on locations of where you can purchase it. So again, thank you so much for joining us today. We'll see you next week on Getting the Edge.